My name is Zendaya Malone. I'm 32 years old. The moment everything died, I was standing 10 feet away, holding a reusable canvas grocery bag filled with organic kale, sourdough bread, and almond milk I knew I'd probably never use. My boyfriend, Mason Hale, didn't notice me come in. He was glowing. Bathed in the artificial warmth of a ring light, phone propped up on the kitchen island, voice animated, charming, perfectly calibrated for the thousands of strangers watching him live on TikTok. This was his natural habitat now, not the apartment, not me. The audience. I stood still in the doorway. Just out of frame, perched on a bar stool with her laptop open, was Caroline, his best friend, former roommate, and self-appointed hype woman. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she monitored the comments, laughing under her breath. "Oh my God, you guys are ridiculous," Mason laughed, reading from the screen. "I swear, you're worse than my group chat." A comment popped up. "Stylin' Steph 22. Is that your girlfriend in the background?" Another followed immediately. "She looks normal." Caroline snorted so hard she had to cover her mouth. Mason glanced over his shoulder. Our eyes met for half a second. There it was, that flicker, annoyance, calculation. Then he turned back to the camera, smile stretching wider. "Hey," he said lightly, lowering his voice into a performative whisper meant for everyone to hear. "Be nice, guys." He paused, then smirked. "We can't all be tens. Honestly, sometimes I feel like I'm doing charity work. Everyone keeps asking why I'm dating down." The comment feed exploded. Skull emojis, cry laughing faces, fire emojis, savage, drag her, know your worth, king. Caroline doubled over in laughter. Mason basked in it. And just like that, I became content. I didn't drop the groceries, I didn't react, I didn't speak. Inside my head, something clicked. Not emotionally, but professionally. I'm a brand strategist. I build narratives, careers, digital identities. I know what success looks like, and I know exactly what failure sounds like when it announces itself publicly. What Mason had just done wasn't a joke. It was a fatal error. I calmly walked past them, set the grocery bag on the counter, and unloaded everything with careful precision. Kale into the crisper, bread on the shelf, milk in the fridge. I didn't interrupt the live stream. An audience of thousands is not the place for a strategic conversation. They thought I was a background character. They had no idea I was the executive producer, and that the show was about to be canceled. That night, after Mason fell asleep, I didn't cry. I went into my office. I didn't pack in anger. I executed a contingency plan. Laptops, hard drives, contracts, documentation. Mission-critical assets only. Because what Mason never understood was this. Our relationship wasn't a romance. It was a joint venture, and he had just publicly humiliated the person who built him. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was spiraling, but because my mind was already 3 steps ahead, running through logistics, dependencies, exposure points. The kind of thinking you slip into when something stops being personal and starts being operational. Mason snored softly in the bedroom, one arm flung across the side of the mattress like he owned the world. I let him keep that illusion for a few more hours. At 2:07 a.m., I opened my laptop and pulled up a document I hadn't touched in months. Contingency protocol, personal, professional overlap. I'd written it 6 months earlier. Not out of paranoia, out of discipline. When you build brands for a living, you learn never to let emotion blur ownership. I'd hoped I'd never need it. Hope is not a strategy. I started with extraction. Only what mattered. My primary laptop first. The one Mason called overkill and used to joke was too serious for TikTok. It slid into its case easily, familiar weight in my hands. External drives followed. Contracts, backup SSDs, the master password ledger I never stored digitally. I moved quietly, efficiently. The camera came next. The professional-grade mirrorless setup Mason had been using daily, the one he told people was a collab hookup. It wasn't. I'd bought it outright, expensed through my LLC. Same with the lighting rigs, the mic system, the backup batteries, the Pelican cases stacked neatly in the hall closet. Each piece went back where it belonged, with me. By 3:30 a.m., the apartment looked thinner, like a stage after the props are removed. I paused in the doorway of the bedroom once, watching Mason sleep. 2 years earlier, when we met, he'd been bartending 3 nights a week and filming content in his car. 6,000 followers. Decent face, big ego, no plan. I'd seen the gap immediately. Not in him, in the idea of him. A clean aesthetic, A relatable masculinity angle. Aspirational, but not threatening. I'd pitched it to him like a joke over drinks. What if we actually built something? He thought I meant us. I meant a brand. I left before sunrise. No note. A note is an emotional artifact. This wasn't a breakup. It was a dissolution. My new apartment was already set up. Minimalist, neutral, corporate lease under my company's name. A place Mason had never asked about, never noticed I still had. At 6:58 a.m., I made coffee and sat down at my desk. Phase 2. At exactly 7 o'clock a.m., I took masontheglowup.com offline. The homepage I'd designed, clean typography, soft gradients, carefully curated photography, vanished. In its place, a blank white screen with one line of black text. This brand is no longer under the management of its founding strategist. No explanation, no drama. Confusion is more powerful than anger. Next came the sponsors. 6 long-term contracts. Fashion, grooming, wellness, tech accessories, all negotiated by me, all with clauses I'd insisted on. Brand safety, positive representation, conduct aligned with values. I drafted one email and copied it 6 times. Subject: urgent strategic update regarding the Mason Hale brand. The language was precise, professional, calm. I informed them I had formally ceased my role as strategist and manager, that I could no longer vouch for brand alignment or reputational safety moving forward. For context, I attached an 8-second time-stamped clip from Mason's livestream. The dating down moment. Nothing editorialized, no commentary, just evidence. I sent the first email at 9 o'clock a.m. Then I waited 10 minutes and moved on. Music licensing came next. Most people think influencer videos just use sounds. They don't realize commercial accounts require commercial licenses. I'd handled that. Carefully, deliberately. Every background track Mason used was licensed through my agency. At 11:12 a.m., I submitted formal copyright revocation notices to TikTok and Instagram. Not false claims, not abuse, legitimate withdrawal of usage rights. By noon, the framework was gone. I blocked Mason's number. I didn't block Caroline's. If panic needed a messenger, she would be it. I poured another cup of coffee and watched my burner account. At 3:17 p.m., my phone buzzed. Caroline, what the hell is going on? Mason's website is weird and 3 videos just got taken down. Are you doing this? I replied with one sentence. Zendaya, I'm managing a brand dissolution. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Caroline, he's freaking out. He keeps calling you. One of the skincare brands emailed asking about a clip you sent them. You need to fix this. I didn't respond. The first domino had fallen faster than I expected. By evening, Mason had posted an Instagram story. Forced smile, tight eyes. Hey guys, just having some technical issues. Website's down, working on it. Love you. The comments were already shifting. What happened? Why are videos missing? Is everything okay? Without my systems, without my equipment, without my planning, Mason was improvising. And Mason was not good at improvising. He texted from a different number at 11:43 p.m., then emailed, then left a voicemail I didn't listen to. Because the truth was simple. I wasn't punishing him. I was removing myself. And without me, there was nothing holding the structure up. He just hadn't realized yet that he was standing inside a building with no foundation. By the next morning, the narrative had started to fracture. Not explode, fracture. Hairline cracks first, the kind you don't notice until the entire structure starts making unfamiliar sounds. I watched everything unfold from a distance, logged into a burner account with no followers and no footprint. It's easier to see the truth when you're invisible. Mason woke up to chaos. He didn't know it yet, but the ecosystem that had been propping him up, quietly, invisibly, was already rejecting him. The first official email came in at 8:14 a.m. A skincare brand. Polite. Corporate. Carefully neutral. They were pausing the partnership pending internal review. That phrase is death in slow motion. By 10 o'clock a.m., 2 more followed. Same language, different logos. Mason went live again around noon, desperation bleeding through the cracks in his voice. No ring light this time. Just his phone propped against a coffee mug, lighting uneven, shadows harsh. Hey guys, he said, forcing energy. I know things look weird right now, but trust me, everything's under control. It wasn't. Behind him, the apartment looked emptier. The absence of professional lighting flattened his face. The camera struggled to focus. The illusion of polish, something I'd spent 2 years engineering, evaporated instantly. The comments noticed. Why does this look different? Did you change your setup? Is your manager still with you? That last one made him falter. For half a second, he froze, the same way he'd frozen when he realized I was in the doorway during that live stream. I felt nothing. The copyright strikes started stacking by mid-afternoon. One video removed, then another, then three at once. TikTok's system doesn't care about intent. It cares about documentation. And mine was airtight. Mason posted another story. This one wasn't cheerful. Guys, I don't know why some of my content is being taken down. We're working on it. We. There was no we anymore. His ex-girlfriend Lila made her exit quietly. She'd been hovering at the edges of his resurgence for months, liking posts, dropping emojis, making cameo appearances and comments. She'd loved the reflected glow of his success. By day 2, she'd untagged herself from everything. Caroline held on longer. Loyalty looks different when perks disappear. By that evening, Mason's engagement had tanked. The algorithm punished inconsistency brutally. Fewer videos meant fewer impressions. Fewer impressions meant fewer comments. The downward spiral accelerated. He tried to compensate with volume. Raw clips, rambling monologues, unedited takes. Each one did more damage than the last. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Caroline had started exploring other opportunities. Networking, repositioning, survival instincts kicking in. Mason, meanwhile, spiraled. He emailed me from his business account at 1:32 a.m. Subject: we need to talk. I didn't open it, because this wasn't about conversation. It was about consequences. On the third day, the real hit landed. TikTok's automated system flagged his account for repeated, legitimate copyright violations within a condensed time frame. The review was swift. At 4:03 p.m., the Mason Thick Glow Up account, 1.1 million followers, 2 years of momentum, thousands of hours of content, was permanently banned. Gone. No appeal, no warning, no mercy. The internet moved on instantly. A week earlier, Mason had been trending. Now he was irrelevant. I watched his final Instagram story later that night. No music, no filters. Just him, sitting on the edge of the bed, head in his hands. I don't know what's happening, he said quietly. Everything's just gone. That was the first honest thing he'd said in months. The brand had collapsed exactly as predicted. Not with a bang, with silence. And I was already preparing for the only conversation left to have, the one that would end it completely. By the fourth day, Mason stopped pretending everything was fine. There were no more upbeat stories, no working on it captions, just absence. Silence is louder than panic online. It signals defeat. The sponsorship terminations came through officially that morning. Not pauses, not reviews, full withdrawals, each email carefully worded, each one referencing brand safety concerns and public perception risks. Translation: you are radioactive. Mason tried reaching out to people who used to return his calls within minutes. They didn't anymore. The talent agency I'd once introduced him to didn't respond. The PR freelancer he'd bragged about hiring ghosted him. Even Caroline, who had once sworn she'd ride with him no matter what, stopped replying after a single, non-committal message. I need to focus on my own stuff right now. He posted one last video from his phone, standing in the bathroom because it had the best lighting left in the apartment. It pulled in less than 3,000 views. I watched it through my burner account. His voice cracked when he said my name. Zendaya, if you're seeing this, please call me. The comments weren't kind. Isn't this the guy who insulted his girlfriend? Karma moves fast. You built this on disrespect. The narrative had shifted without my input. That's the thing about the internet. Once you lose control of the story, it rewrites you. By that evening, Mason's landlord posted a notice on the building door. Late rent. Second warning. The lifestyle he'd showcased so proudly, the clothes, the dinners, the grind, evaporated when the money stopped flowing. 2 days later, my building buzzer rang. I wasn't surprised. I let him up. Mason stood in the hallway like a stranger wearing his own face, hollowed out, dark circles under his eyes. The designer jacket looked borrowed now, heavy on his shoulders, like it belonged to someone else. He stepped inside my apartment and froze. Clean, quiet, minimal. No ring lights, no chaos, no audience. Just control. You moved, he said hoarsely. I relocated, I corrected. He turned to me, eyes glassy. You have to fix this. I crossed my arms. There's nothing to fix. My account is gone, he whispered. My sponsors. Everything. You did this. I shook my head slowly. I didn't do anything. I took back what was mine. He laughed. A brittle breaking sound. You ruined my life because of a joke. I stepped closer. No, you ruined your brand because you miscalculated value. He looked at me, confused. You assessed in real time, in front of thousands of people, that humiliating me was worth more than maintaining our partnership, I said calmly. You were wrong. Tears welled in his eyes. It didn't mean anything, he said. It was just engagement. That's worse, I replied. It means you understood the trade and still took it. He opened his mouth, then closed it. I walked to my desk and picked up a single sheet of paper, an itemized invoice. Equipment, licensing, strategy, consulting, 2 years of work. The total at the bottom was just over $210,000. This is what I invested in you, I said, handing it to him. I don't expect you to pay it. I just want you to understand the scale of what you destroyed. His hands shook as he stared at the number. I thought you were just supporting me, he whispered. I met his eyes. You weren't dating down, Mason. You were being carried. Silence filled the room. I walked to the door and opened it. The market corrected itself, I said evenly. This conversation is over. He stumbled out, clutching the paper like evidence. I closed the door gently behind him. There was no anger, no triumph. I stood there for a long moment after the door closed, not listening for footsteps, not hoping he'd turn back, just standing in the quiet. People expect revenge to feel loud, explosive, cathartic. They imagine shouting, tears, slammed doors. What they don't understand is that the most complete endings feel administrative, like closing a file. I walked back to my desk and placed the invoice into a folder labeled Archived. No flourish, no ceremony. Just where it belonged now, in the past. Over the next few days, the digital world finished what it had already started. Mason's name stopped appearing anywhere that mattered. The influencer gossip accounts moved on to newer scandals. His former sponsors scrubbed his image from their feeds. The comment sections that once adored him now spoke about him in the past tense. Remember that guy? Yeah, what happened to him? The worst kind of erasure. Caroline unfollowed him quietly. So did Lila. Without the glow of relevance, there was nothing left to orbit. A week later, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Mason had picked up extra shifts bartending again. Same bar, same late nights, same audience that didn't care who he used to be online. Back to zero. As for me, nothing dramatic changed. I went to work, took on new clients, launched 2 new brands in the same quarter. One of them crossed 6 figures in its first month. No one asked about Mason, and that was the point. He hadn't been dating down. He had been elevated by someone he never bothered to see. I didn't ruin his life. I simply withdrew my labor, my intellect, my protection. And without those things, the structure collapsed under its own weight. My revenge wasn't loud. It was quiet, precise, final. I didn't cancel him. I canceled the illusion. And when I took my life back, the market did the rest. Just completion.